Ooh. Yo, what's up, guys? It's the Nightwing at Way of Life Esports coming at you guys with another episode of Rift Inside Season 1, Episode 9. TSM are the 2020 LCS Summer Split Champions. So, I actually have TSM fans here. No, they're not crazy. They're not going to beat you up for your opinion. They actually are people I've known for quite a bit of time. So, I want to just ask you guys as a question for when you first saw the games and you got a chance to lift your trophy again. How'd you feel after winning after so long?
Honestly, I think it's just kind of I expected it to occur, not to be super like egotistical or like kind of proud, but like I don't know, it just seemed like the momentum was ridiculous, dude. Like there were so many game fives that were just like pushed through, and like so many people like corroborated on this like over time, with compounded interviews across different players. Like Bjerg has just been playing out of his mind. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. There was this long like time argument saying how like Jensen and like PoE like were in debates to have been like better mids than Bjerg this like split, but I just don't see the evidence for that. Like I mean, they've all played good in like their own rights, but I don't really see them as like that MVP tier player this season for their teams.
I think the closest competition for Bjergsen was Jensen. And Jensen played really well all split long.
Yeah.
I think he played great. It's just that it's unfortunate TL like being game 5 and 50-15 Baron when Dragon's up at 23 minutes. Sometimes in life you gotta just throw.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I feel like the it was beyond just Bjergsen like playing a god. I feel like Spica really did step up. I owed him like a big apology. Like for I think the very beginning of the split, I was not happy that they didn't switch him out. I was like, I'm stoked you got double lift, but I was kind of like worried about Spica. And you could see a lot within like some behind the scenes takes throughout the progression of the split. People were saying how TSM, Bjerg, DL, and a couple other players were just super stoked about having Spica as a player. And I really didn't see it at the beginning. I was kind of like, okay, well, I guess you guys are just being nice. But like over time, like just seeing like how good he was with like the smite fights, his champion pool, like all these things that like you would see out of a veteran player, I was really, really like, I don't know, really, really impressed, like to say the least.
What's up, Shinryu? How you doing, man?
What's up? I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good. You got it right. You called it right, man. You said TSM were gonna win the whole thing. You got it right, man.
I didn't want to be. No, I didn't care.
Oh my god.
Now that once T9 dropped out, I didn't care who wins.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, same here. I'm a traditional sports fan. Once my team is out, it's like I guess whoever wins it doesn't matter at this point. But I'm a salty C9 G2 fan, and I just love waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning just to watch G2 get absolutely destroyed by a Chinese team. But it's okay. It's okay. We learn how to move on from now. But OPTSM fan, how you doing, man? How did you even think about TSM during the split, though? I haven't talked to you in a while, so I want to get your thoughts on TSM and their progression with Spica over Dardoch, because Dardoch happened, and Spica happened, and they won LCS, so it's like...
Yeah, I am actually the exact opposite of QJ. I did not expect this to happen. After the Golden Garden series, I was pretty confident they'd beat Dignitas, but that should be like a no-brainer. They're the actual 8th place team. I mean, there are a lot of academy teams who are better than Dignitas. So, I mean, it's just I don't think like that's a huge thing to say. They weren't really necessarily a great team.
Yeah.
And then on the rematch for Golden Guardians, I actually thought we'd lose that again because I think they matched up really well versus us because their bot lane was their strong side, and when Double Lift was having to take a back seat and we weren't playing towards top like we did in the finals, we had like no pressure on the map to either stack Drakes or contest anything, and some of our drafts were a little bit questionable during those series. The C9 one, I didn't think they would win that one. Every series, really, I just kind of sold it short because there wasn't really anything I was like truly believing in because I guess I while I'm glad TSM won as a TSM fan, there was a lot of like flaws, like even in the TL series, like why are we drafting Olaf, right? Like, is it just a comfort thing? The Jace in the finals, like, we're not playing it correctly, we're not itemizing correctly. There are a lot of different things that like let me hold on for more. And FlyQuest and Golden Guardians were the only two teams that I felt like weren't handshaking with TSM to allow them to make the proactive play ahead of time, while Team Liquid and C9 were kind of just like, well, we're going to do our thing while you do your thing, and we'll just see what happens at objectives. But, overall, I think it's really good. I'm kind of upset that Bjergsen got MVP for the series. I think Spica should have gotten it, hands down. There were some moments that Syndra game from Bjergsen was not his best. Spica looked better through the entire thing. Overall, I think, it doesn't matter if you would have been first or second seed at Worlds, because it's going to look really, really tough for TSM, regardless.
Ooh, it looks tough for all the teams. And
we are NA, yeah.
Yeah, this is the best region in the world. What do you mean, man? Come on, you got to hype us up when you can.
Oh, that's it. Yep.
For me personally, it's just that Bjergsen getting Zillion so much during playoffs was just insane.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing that made me not really believe, is that a lot of things had to fall in place. Like, we played almost like the third or fourth most amount of games that you could have possibly played in playoffs. And it came down to 3 teams in a row leaving Bjergsen Zillion, which I don't think is necessarily like one being punished in lane by anybody in North America. It shouldn't be as good on just a champion level as it is. And then I think a lot of people don't want to make plays because they're like, oh, the Zillion ult is there. And it's like, well, like, why not go for the play on the AD carry who has cleanse? Because he has cleanse? No, you need to burn that and try to find an avenue within the window that's allowed. But it seems like a lot of people are just so worried about that. And a lot of things had to fall in place for TSM to win, and it did. So it was almost like a storyline thing. The plot armor.
The script is written by Riot. Charisma says, at least Fly didn't leave it up for Game 5. Oof. So let's kind of recap what happened. So TSM played Team Liquid to start off before they even got to FlyQuest. So what were your guys' initial thoughts on TSM versus Team Liquid? Doublelift getting his revenge against his former squad. Liquid actually looked pretty solid. I didn't really notice too many bad things. I mean, their indecisiveness, and then they make brash calls that don't make any sense. Like in the Game 5 where they 50-50 Baron when there's no need to. You could just go take drag when you had vision priority right there. You could have taken it and then potentially set up for Baron. And then there was the other games where TSM in the series are on the other side of the map in like game 3 trying to take a tier 2. I was like, what is even going on? Like, how did Team Liquid lose the series though? And then later on TSM brought it back. And then overall, do you guys think it's better for Team Liquid to now be in the play-in stage?
I personally do. I mean, playing stage is pretty much, it'll get you prepped, and for them having a rookie and tactical, I mean, rookie, whatever you want to say, he played some games last split, but I think it'd be good to get some, it's always just good practice. I mean, C9 showed that it's been good practice previously, where they were the third team going in, and it worked out for them.
Core JJ posting, I think the playing stage would be good for TSM. And now he's in there. Holy crap. But Triple, your team sadly got second place. But you guys are going to Worlds. You guys are going to Worlds. You got it to Game 5. You know, when it got to Game 3, I was like, oh my goodness, they could potentially get swept right here. So what was your initial thoughts going into the series, though? Did you really think that FlyQuest could have pulled it out at the very end?
I felt like it could go either way because it's just like it's only 5 games, you know, and even when you're down 2-0, it only really takes a couple games to just pull it all back to even, you know, which is what happened. They were at 2-2, and at that point, it's just a best of one. Anything can happen, and I guess TSM, like the momentum really did matter in this situation.
Mhm.
Because from going to getting 3-0 by Golden Guardians in week 1 to just sweeping everyone in the lower bracket and then winning the finals, I have to kind of like I can't help but feel like, it's because of this new format that
Mhm.
takes so long. This whole playoffs took, I believe, around a month, which is pretty much half the regular season. And through that time, you can kind of probe the meta a lot and kind of change your picks, which they did. Obviously with Speaker Shen, um, he played like a perfect facilitator role to solo laners. Um, and yeah, I feel like for Team Liquid in play-ins, that's actually going to help them a lot. Like much like what TSM had through this playoffs run.
Hmm. Because initially for me, I think the playing stage, as I said before, is a double-edged sword. You do get off the rust of not playing for an entire month. You're playing against teams you don't play all the time, so you're learning how teams around the world are playing. Even though they're wildcard teams, they still are adding in something different you haven't seen. Most likely, generally, their laners just do different things. They contest different things at certain times. They play off objectives differently. And I think for teams like Team Liquid, specifically with players like Jensen and Core JJ, who I think need a boost before they play the main stage. It's imagine like you being a new basketball player, someone just throwing you in the deep end saying, go play against LeBron James right now. You're like, what? Can I warm up?
Yeah.
So I think that warming up for specific teams like TSM or Team Liquid might actually be a pretty good thing. Now, it depends on who do you think needs to warm up more, Team Liquid or TSM. Because when you're factoring in like the group stages, most people don't have NA, like at least on Reddit and like the League community, most people don't have NA winning anything, not even a game. I think they'll win a game. It's best of once, obviously, but I want to know what you guys think. Do you think NA has any chances to win any game specifically at Worlds outside of the playing stage for whoever Team Liquid, since they'll be in there?
I mean, if any NA team gets to play against like whatever team is like either Talon or Supermassive that comes out from play-in stage or Machi, they can win those games. But outside of that, it's gonna be tough sledding. I think the Chinese teams, which are the ones that most people think is the best region in the world. Every group will have at least one Chinese team, barring that LGD gets out, which I'm pretty sure they will, of play-ins, and they all get to stay there. So they're already, there's a lot of comfort. They're not having to, no jet lag, no adapting to new stuff, just the bubble that they're putting in place.
Is this all for the format? The format of the LCS, how it's structured, is just. Does this make our teams better for Worlds? Like at the end of the day, because still before World starts, you're still taking a month break, and the meta changes too.
Yeah, that month I think is just going to change everything because
So they're playing
the
on
meta's
10.9,
constantly
right?
evolving. What's the patch right now? Is it?
I think they're playing on 10.9.
They're going to go 10.19 for the World patch.
Yeah.
The new Swordsman champion's not.
Yone is not.
Okay,
which is
So
really
sad.
sad.
It's
why? It's gonna be it's a month, right? What are you doing? It's a month.
That is like one of the most fun champs to play and watch. Like putting somebody on like Showmaker on that champ.
Apparently, that's what was one of the biggest complaints from a lot of the Riot employees and people who work with Riot. They were like, "How can you not allow that champion at Worlds?"
I mean, it's actually like 3.5 patches removed because he was on 10.16, I think, and then the middle patch came out, and then 17.18, and then they're going to play on 19. So it's kind of sad, especially when the mid lane pool this year is absolutely stacked, barring depending if it's like BDD or Faker that comes from LCK third seed as well.
Jared asks, Triple, what is your thoughts on OPL teams at Worlds? With the one they get. They get
Legacy.
Yeah, it's Legacy.
They got Legacy. Yeah, they got Legacy.
Actually, two of my old teammates there. One guy from my old academy team as well. I don't know, honestly. I think OS has been taking a hit recently just from all the players leaving, and there's like been funding cuts or whatever. So I'm not actually too sure. I haven't kept up with the scene. But what I do know is that since the Vietnamese teams can't go to Worlds now, There's been a format change. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's
Mhm.
now two groups of 5, and you only have to come top 4 to make best of 5 stages in play-ins.
It's
So I
two
think,
groups of 5.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
in play-ins.
they're like the pool 1 seeds are all the
Okay.
major regions,
Okay.
and then pool 2 is all the minor regions, I guess.
Mhm.
And you have 2 pool 1 seeds in each group, and then 3 pool 2 seeds in the rest of them. And as Triple was saying, the number 1 seed in each group gets automatically qualified to the group stage. The bottom seed gets taken out, and then the other ones go to the knockout stage and make that work.
So there's just so much more room for error now, because you only need to beat 1 team out of the other 4 teams
You just
to
have to
make
be
knockout
less shitty
stage.
than one. You just have to be less shitty
Yes,
than one team.
which
Oh my
personally I have struggled
god.
with, but I will say best of 5s are like a completely different dynamic, like as you have
Mhm.
seen in NALCS playoffs. And I don't think like, yeah, that's the thing with the LCS format, is like it doesn't prepare you for best of 5s as well. It's not like you're playing LCK where you're constantly playing best of 3s, you know. We're playing best of 1s here. But anyways, going back to like the worlds thing, yeah, I think all they need to do is not shit the bed against one team, and then
Dude,
win a
Mammoth last
BF5,
year.
right?
Mammoth last year wasn't that bad. They were not that bad. The
Yeah,
issue
I
with
think
Mammoth.
honestly, I think if we had this format last year, we would have made it. But that's just me.
And last year we also had Clutch losing to Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, they griefed us like twice by losing to them.
But so with TSM winning, as most people throughout history are going to remember this, were they the best players in every single position outside of like Bjergsen? Double and Balfrost were, I guess, they were a solid bot lane overall. Double played a lot better as the split went on. Broken Blade became more of a carry threat because there wasn't really like a carry oriented top laner as I saw that was like a traditional carry from North America. This specific split, that was kind of like forgotten about outside of maybe Licorice Wukong. And then you had Spica, who got better as the season progressed, but I'm still kind of undecided at how he'll play in Worlds. So
is your question, do we think that each member of TSM is the best at their position in North
yes,
America?
yes,
No.
Can I talk on that?
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't really feel as though they're the best in their positions. Like, to be honest, the only player who I can say, like, surefire is the best of their position, or at least can say it, like, arguably was the best of their position, is Bjerg, of course. We kind of already talked about that a little bit.
Mhm.
The only other person I can say on their roster who is at least top 2, I would say, is Broken Blade. And the only reason I can say that is because, a lot of people are going to say he was the best top in the region, but I think that really just comes down to the fact that Licorice like digressed at such a level. Someday didn't have a team, of course, which everyone knows about, and fucking Solo just got like triple dicked like in that whole series. So all those top laners they have their own like exterior like factors that came into play with their performance. And then of course I think the other thing that sets TSM apart from other teams in NA is they're the only team outside of maybe C9 that adopts that whole like OPL or not OPL, sorry, LPL play style of looking for these like high tempo plays in the early game to have a good progression into the mid game.
So correct me if I'm wrong. The comp they put against C9 in their first game where they beat them with Lucian and Evelyn, did that come from an LPL team? Because I remember watching that in in the LPL.
LPL's been running. They've been running
much.
Lucian mid and
Okay.
Evelyn jungle. I think Gamwan ran Evelyn jungle too, because I'm pretty sure I saw a Canyon going in one shot.
Yeah, you're right. I remember that. So, like, I like that
Because
TSM were able to adapt that. They saw a better team doing it, so they took it, and they were able to obviously win some games for it in playoffs. I like that. But because back in the day when I was first watching the LCS, it was like a sin to like imitate the best regions. I never even understood that. Like, if there's better players doing something better and they're better than you, there's something wrong with you trying to mold that into your own playstyle. I've never even understood why that was a bad thing. Because
yeah, I mean that's kind of the whole reason why C9 had so much success. It was already talked about a couple of times in the spring split. You know, Niski was saying in interviews countless times how he was trying to emulate Doinby, and then
look where that got him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is Niski was doing it too much. Like, he was doing it so much to the point where, like, if Blabber didn't show up, then he wouldn't show up either. Because he was just linking the mid-jungle 2v2 to such an extent where basically the Niski-Blabber dynamic was, like, split 50-50. So it's like if one of them didn't, compete or produce, then they weren't able to, equate to one complete player. So that was like a problem.
TSM are the champions, but let's talk about FlyQuest. So FlyQuest got second place. So what are you guys' general thoughts on FlyQuest now? Because even still, when they were doing really well, people still kind of underrated them, myself included. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm always very, very upfront with my opinions. I still underrated them. I didn't have them winning the split, actually. I had TL winning the split, but So FlyQuest right now, I think people I don't know what's it about being a weak side player that makes you super strong. Like, you could be a good weak side player, but against the LPL and the LCK teams with stronger weak side players, you're still gonna lose unless they're coming up with some genius strat that's gonna cover up these glaring weaknesses in some of our teams. I just want to get your guys' opinion on that. Being a strong weak side player, like, is there any real benefit to that other than you just losing gracefully?
Well, the thing about playing weak side is you free up resources for the rest of your teammates and you free up pressure. So it's like, it's okay for you to be a weak side, like top, for example. Of course, it's like the biggest like weak side position in A that happens like the most often. It's okay for you to be the weak side top laner, but like, your team has to take all that pressure that you're absorbing on that side of the map and doing things on the opposite side. But if you're a team like one of these other teams that are playing, farm and scale and like, just conservatively like pressure and fixate on like dragon stacking, then that's probably not the best if you're going against a team that's putting all their resources into putting your top behind and you're not really doing anything to counterbalance that against a team that's, taking all that pressure.
Henry Coleman, I think TSM won primarily because they played through Broken Blade. Some of the strongest top players in the world are weak side players, in my opinion. Alphari 369, for example. Alphari is a pretty good weak side player. Sucks that Origin, completely collapsed from the inside out.
But you guys know these two players can play like super strong side as well. Like, they can be carry top laners too. I've seen 369 play Jax.
Yeah, 369
plays carries too.
Yeah.
But when you think of Fly, it's like, I feel like Solo might need to touch up his tempo a little bit. Just because, like, you never really see him play super strong side unless he's on a champion like Set or something, which is kind of rare to see top lane now anyways, given how hard it is to get a draft.
Yeah.
And I think against like LPL teams and stuff, you're gonna get really exploited, and like that's already a lose condition open up on the map.
Charisma says Impact does well in NA as a weak side top laner. Yeah, but that's the point I was bringing up though. That is going to somewhere in the kink of all that, the top teams that are going to Worlds 2020 are going to obviously exploit that at some point. Like, being a weak side player is not bad. The issue here is that's like a band-aid solution for certain players, and when that band-aid gets peeled off, I mean, what else you got? That's what I'm kind of worried about. It's not that being weak side player is bad. It's that you got to bring something else to the table, though, because these other better players are bringing that with something else, with also stronger players. That's kind of the point I'm getting at.
It's all about the macro and like making sure that you equal out. You have to counterbalance these plays. So if you're going to play weak side and you're taking all of that pressure, you're getting fucked over on the top side of the map. That's fine, but your team has to send resources to bot lane or mid lane to make sure they're pushing another type of advantage to keep you equal. But the thing is the weak side like players, their teams are playing non-proactively. So they're like, oh, okay, sure, we're gonna put you on weak side to scale.
I also think it's just something we've seen in NA that is kind of just the weirdest thing that like your jungle is bot lane and you haven't seen their jungle and you're playing weak side because of the position of the players on your team, not necessarily through the structure of your comp. And then you go for these trades to either feint that, you have something, or like you know that your jungle is bot, or he's even shown bot, but you do this when you're not respecting just the state of the map. And I think a lot of NA will have trouble with it. I think Impact is probably the only air quote weak side top laner that we have that can and has consistently at international events, whether it's through Team Liquid or on Cloud9, has held his own because of the way he manipulates the wave and the way that he respects the enemy jungler can be top, especially when he is weak side through the numbers. But, talking about what Triple was saying, 369 definitely can play carry. He has. Zoom is known for his gangplank, and that's like a top tier
Zoom's on JDG, right? Yeah. Okay.
And then last year, even Gimgoon for FPX, even though they're not there this year, Gimgoon was considered a weak side top laner so much that they brought in Khan this year, and then eventually moved to Gimgoon playing the Fiora and stuff that we would associate normally with Khan. And I think that's, to your point, is that the flexibility for NA teams is not necessarily there if it does become a carry top lane meta at Worlds, like it is for these LPL, LCK, even the LEC teams. I think every LEC team, minus maybe Rogue and Mad, are teams that you can count on for Whippo and Wonder to be able to turn it on if possible. But Mad and Rogue kind of fit more of that Team Liquid Cloud9 mold that we've seen in the past, where it's they have a defined style, they're really, really good at it, but if that doesn't work, then they're just kind of SOL.
I think personally, actually, TSM, if it's a carry meta, that's TSM's, that's fucking their saving grace.
I think they're going to do that mainly just because I think Double Lift is, for the first time, probably going in a Worlds where he admittedly is not going to be the focal point of his team's identity.
Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think
it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing. I mean, look what they did with, RIP Solo, but you saw what they did. They did what FPX did to G2 in the finals.
Yeah.
Doomby would push the wave in. He wouldn't use TP because he was playing Nautilus, and they would just go destroy Wonder.
I'm just worried about some of the picks that are going to be set up for nerfs. Like Caitlyn, Senna, Azir, and TF are all coming up for nerfs on the Worlds patch, and every single one of those champions is a TSM pick. And the Caitlyn, especially the Senna, is primary weak side bot lane safe pick, scales into late game. Double Lift, has an affinity for it right now, and the TF was the defining pick of the entire series for Fly versus TSM, in my opinion. Because without that, you're not making those same plays with Camille, Galio, probably. So,
but for FlyQuest, the thing with FlyQuest, from what I've always seen throughout this iteration of their roster, is Ignar and Power of Evil bring so much to the table. Power of Evil is super stable, doesn't generally always lose his lane. He's sometimes, more or less so from my scene, always winning it. Then you have Ignar, who constantly is on playmaking supports, who constantly tries to up the tempo of the game. But then there's Santorin. It's kind of weird. How will a player like Santorin fare at Worlds? That's the interesting part of it, because he's so integrated to how stable they are.
So they've actually had really good, they've been doing what Cloud9 were doing the first half of the split, which was really, innovative level 1 strats. And I think that's actually how, if you look at, last year's Worlds, Blabber out-jungled the living shit out of Yankos in the early game. So if they can do that, and they still like to play scaling comps anyways, Power People's almost always on some scaling champ. If they can just touch up the mid as well, or their early game, and keep doing these innovative level 1 strats and stuff like that to keep themselves in a good spot, I think they'll be fine, honestly.
I think Santorin is actually the one player outside of Power of Evil that I'm not worried about on FlyQuest. I'm actually more kind of worried about Ignar. I think you'll see him make his standard plays, but from a draft standpoint, I was really concerned when they were hey, let's get this Caitlyn priority pick. And you're oh yeah, makes sense. It's really, really good. And then 2 games they put Caitlyn with Pantheon. Yeah, and Pantheon is Ignar's comfort, and it's cool, and you can kind of match the TF with the global, but you pick Caitlyn for lane, and then Pantheon's roaming half the time. I don't know how I necessarily feel about that, especially when Solo's just getting mollywop top lane. the champion pool for Ignar is what I feel can be exploited even more by better teams at Worlds, because maybe they let him have his thresh, or they let it go play Rakan. We know how to beat that, as opposed to NA, where it's like Rakan for some reason is this giga OP champion that can never gets out of lane for free and can do all the stuff. But I think Santorin will be good because he'll be reminiscent of what I believe we've seen of Smithy in previous Worlds. He's just consistent. He's tracking the jungler, and he's just trying to be there at the right time, as opposed to forcing the issue like we've seen from the Blabbers or any other of these junglers.
Henry Coleman has a question for Triple. I'd like to know Triple's thoughts on Ryoma and if he still thinks he's a great player as he was hyped up to be.
I touched on this last week, if you remember.
Yeah.
I think Ryoma's champ pool is really defined. So there'll be metas where he's good, there'll be metas where he's bad, but for the most part, he's good at playing these carry mid laners like Akali, like Aurelia, like LeBlanc. So you've kind of seen a glimpse of it this year, but I wouldn't say he's shown his full potential, and that's kind of because I think the pressure of I don't know what the pressure is, but maybe the fans, maybe NA, maybe it's org, maybe you have to play someday, now you actually have an actual carry on your team. But all this kind of leads to him just playing like a supporty kind of Zoe role, where he just picks Zoe and gives up CS and just groups with his team. But before it would be his whole team plays around him, he'd carry with Akali. And I think the teams just haven't really unlocked him.
Yeah.
And someone mentioned it last week as well, but it was maybe they should just give one scrim set, where they just play around him exclusively, and maybe you can see more potential that way. But it's hard for me to say because I haven't played him in a long time.
I'd like to ask a question for you, Triple. Is that, and I know it's derailing from the TSM and the whole Worlds with Flying TL, but
You're fine.
It seems that the problem that alluding to Worlds that we're talking about, NA teams have a set style that they run and that it works here. But since we don't, let's take 100 Thieves, right? And they don't try these things out with Ryoma to try to put him in a position to carry, because they identify that someday is their guy, right? That can try to carry. We'll put him on Aatrox or whatever. I think overall that does a disservice for the entire league, because then you're okay, I just need to formulate a plan for this team as opposed to what's best in the meta. Because then you see some people banning the Olafs and stuff. It's well, why are we banning it? It's not good right now. And I think that's going to lead to problems at Worlds, when you see the only team that has had success at Worlds in recent memory was Cloud9, and they've always been very good about playing around rookies, whether it's Blabber or Licorice, because they play to their style, and then they realize what their limits are. If more teams would do that, I think, and to pose it as a question for everybody else now, we need to see more teams do that, which is kind of what, I guess, maybe a little bit of what TSM did with not trying to play through double lift and then putting Broken Blade on champions that are carries. Even if it falls flat at Worlds, I mean, they're trying something a little different. They know Bjergsen can play the Akali and the, Aurelia. We saw him pull out Silas, which will be getting a slight buff next patch. But I think that's the biggest problem with teams from NA at Worlds, is that the orgs and the infrastructure of LCS is so rigid to where they're not trying to, they told us when franchising happened that there would be more ability to try out new things and new players and new strategies because they'd be able to afford it.
They lie.
But we've seen more and more a rigidness and an unwillingness to change to try to get the best results. I mean, I loved it from Golden Guardians when they said, forget Froggen, we're putting Demonte in. Now, Demonte is someone like Ryoma, who has a really, really set champion pool of champions that he's really good on, but they played to that strength and then enabled FBI, another, Oceanic player, right? I don't think that, there's a lot of people who say, oh, Oceanic players, blah, blah, blah. It's no, these guys are good. They're here for a reason. There's LAN players that are really good. There are people that will see
CB Lowell has some good players actually.
CB Lowell. I mean, yeah. INT. I think honestly, if you're looking as an NA org to get any of these like small import rules, like look at Supermassive with like Zeitnot for 80 carry next year and stuff like that.
I remember Zeitnot. He's actually pretty good.
Or
like
that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, or a Hanasik from UOL that everyone like fell in love with last year. You know, like these are great. I mean, Closer was on the TCL team Royal, and
yeah, that's crazy. Remember, Demonte 3-0'd him at Worlds last year. Now they're teammates. That's so weird.
I mean, like, I think getting just back to Worlds and to try to wrap up my little thing is just that if more teams are willing to experiment in that, especially when now that Spring Split doesn't matter. It will overall better the scene as opposed to looking for results as a way to either appease the fan base, which I don't think is really a big part about it, or just to have like job security from some of these coaches. Because the one thing I saw on Twitter afterwards was that a lot of people were praising the improvement of TSM's drafts throughout the lower bracket run, and it's because they had their academy coach come in to help them.
So if I could, how would you say it? Angel's advocate? What if they tried that and they saw how strong the player was though? Like what if before the split starts they tried to play around the player in a set of scrims and they saw his peak at that moment in time? Then what do you do after that? If they did this, I'm not saying they didn't or not. What if they did this and they saw how good he actually became?
Perfect example though is Golden Glue. Everybody refers to him as a scrim god, and then on stage he's like a middle of the pack mid laner.
Everybody's a nice guy.
Everybody talked about like how in scrims like this dude would just fucking smash everybody. Like he was a scrim god, and then on stage it's like, oh, Golden Glue. I mean, he's decent. He's not bad. Not great. Not bad.
Okay.
Well, hey, that's like one of the rare times they've actually done it, though, right? It makes me think, why would you pick these players up if you're not going to play around them? You know, that's like, maybe you should just pick someone else up then.
Like
if you're
me?
not going to play that style. Yeah, like you. Like, maybe you can play Gallia really well.
I'll run it down someday, hard, you know? Bro. I'll go 0-7-0.
But honestly, yeah, like, I don't know if these teams are doing this scouting work, because if they did, they would know that these players, you should just play what they're good at, no?
Well, I think there's that, like, play what you're good at, because, like, obviously, like, we're talking about, like, someone like Solo, who's his champion bull. He's playing what he's good at, right? And I mean, even though I know, but I think there should be, from an organizational standpoint, there should not be this, okay, we have this player, this is their identity and nothing else, right? If it calls, like, 80 carries, I think, are the easiest to make happen, because, like, if it's a supportive 80 carry meta, if it's like Sivir and Ashe and Jhin, they kind of have to play that role. It's what happens, because the 80 carry will always do that. Or if it's Kai'Sa and Xayah, or if it's Ezreal and Aphelios or whatever, who's getting buffed, and I don't want to see Aphelios really. But they have the easiest one of molding, but you should do that with all of your players, with your jungler, with your mid laner, and your top laner. But I feel like the orgs have this idea of like, that is the perception of the player, and there's no development coming to try to unhinge or unlock or expand upon being able to move that, because they're worried about results.
Yeah. Two huge examples of this I can think of. The top of my head is like, remember when Viper got subbed out for Solo on FlyQuest, and Solo's champion pool is just like, and his playstyle is like a much better fit for the FlyQuest team. Much like Speaker and subbing him out. I mean, subbing Dodok out to put Speaker in is like, this guy playing the Shen, playing like tanks. It kind of just fits into the team like the glue, you know? And sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes you need flexible players in top and jungle. I think those two roles are probably the most like dynamic, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's what set TSM apart this season too.
Like, Speaker's willingness to try new crap was, or even you saw the Bjergsen Malachi set and Fiddlesticks, right?
Yeah. I guess you could throw mid lane in there too. Just like some more.
They were probably like
Nautilus,
yeah.
So I guess we're sending some strong teams to Worlds, guys. Get hyped. You guys are dead inside. You guys are actually dead inside. Holy crap.
Honestly, I think NA can. I think depending on who's in the groups, I think NA can actually make it out. I don't know who I would say would make it out, but I don't think LEC is as strong as everybody hypes them up to be. I think you got like G2. Like G2, obviously.
Then everybody else.
I've seen everybody else. Honestly, I'm not.
Yeah.
Are you guys really
worried about?
So that'll be our next topic is the LEC. But I want to close out this one real quick before we go to LEC. Is Team Liquid, I think they need the playing stage for players like Jensen, players like Core JJ who are dependent on like momentum, right? I said modem. Holy crap. I'm old, guys. I'm an old man.
Yeah,
Momentum.
they're not dependent on broadband. They're dependent on modem.
Modem.
They don't need the routers. They need the.
Oh my God. Well, Wild Turtle had to change places. Wait, what was the thing? Because I was at work when that happened. Like, Wild Turtle had to like change places or some shit.
His power went out because of like the heat in LA, and then so he had to go to the facility where they were at because they were separated for COVID, and that's why it took so long. So he had to drive the whole way and then get reset up and everything.
Why did they just cancel the series though? Right, what are you doing?
No, you don't. You don't cancel it.
Oh
I
my
felt bad
God.
for it, though, obviously.
They should have just made it a best of 7 then. Just give the teams both of the games. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But overall, I think Team Liquid will need the playing stage. I think they'll actually develop better with it. TSM, hey, throw them into the deep end with Canyon and Yagao. See what happens there. Or
TSM is first seed, so they can't verse Canyon.
Oh,
They can't verse Damwon, they can't verse Top, and they can't go against G2. Hey, TSM's got a shot.
Hey,
That is,
you know what?
Hey, that's
TSM
actually beautiful. If you see that, like, honestly, yeah, that's what I would be
TSM
looking
Dream
for.
Group. TSM Dream Group is TSM Suning, Machi Esports. Oh no, TSM Suning Rogue, and then Power. That's the
Rogue.
Oh, dude, that'll be Rogue. Everybody wants to see that.
the Rogue matchup people
TSM.
memed on last year. Rogue versus TSM. That's the most hype matchup for the group stage day one.
That's the dream group for TSM.
Everyone wants to see it.
Yeah.
Last question on the LCS, and we'll go. Spica's Shen was actually wild. Landed that 3-man taunt. You have to be practicing. He landed all the smites. His jungle Shen was really good. That Baron he stole in game 4 against Liquid. That was really good. He really improved.
He should have been nowhere near that fucking Baron, though. They literally let him walk up.
They Caitlyn traps. Traps. Oh my God.
My man literally just crip walked up to him.
Yeah. I feel he's leveled up over the course. He had some really bad smites in the earlier part of the series in the playoffs. But the Shen, it came from one of the EU regional leagues. They pulled it out like the
he didn't invent it?
No.
Oh,
and they inventing something? What's
I
wrong with
thought
you?
like he came up with this pick and Yanko's
No, and they ain't doing that shit, bro.
No, I mean, like, it's funny because, like, then G2, like, referenced that they watched LCS and that's why they picked it up.
But we're getting there, boys. We're getting there.
But it was the LEC regional team, one of the Polish teams, their jungler. I forget who it was, but he pulled it out. And Speak is definitely a guy who would be, like, watching that stuff and trying wacky stuff and everything. He knew the Skarner into Evelyn matchup. He does, so.
I would never watch. I don't watch the LEC regional, so if I picked up Shen, I wouldn't have even known. But I mean, River Shen. I mean, that's been
meme.
I mean, that's not a valid. I mean, it wasn't a valid pick until recent, but like it was a whole ass meme last year. I'm talking about River Shen. Honestly, it's a really good pick though, because instead of giving up topside another like side lane, instead of giving up pressure there, you're coming from who knows where, making this 1v1 a 2v1, or if you're playing TF, you're making it a 3v1.
Like you're adding more utility than playing
half the game.
You're just adding in more utility because you're playing the set jungle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
You guys know there's been a duo in Hyla Silky playing Shen Yumi bot lane.
That sounds
the
disgusting.
Yumi follows you when the Shen ults. It's actually that'll make it a 3v1.
Retarded.
Bro,
that sounds that's literally cancer. Taunts and Yumi slowing you. That sounds unfun. That sounds literally unfun to play against.
I think that's a low-key sleeper combo right now. not bot lane, but like Shen anywhere plus Yumi, I think.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny that I mean, me and my buddy rolled fucking Sona Lux. bot because it was like a ungodly win rate. It was like 62% or some shit like that. It was fucking stupid. It was the most busted comp you could run, and our mid was like, "Oh, we have 2 supports bot, game over." And we won. Like,
Supports are strong, dude.
Support damage, man. All right, so that's the NA teams, guys. TSM's gonna win Worlds, as you know. Reginald's gonna make it happen. He's gonna yell at them when they're playing up against Damwon in the very finals. He's like, you know what, Beerson, sub out. Reginald walks out there on the stage, gets in the chair. He's like, Beerson, I got this. I pay your bills.
Locks in Zed.
Yeah. Locks in Karthus mid, runs it.
Oh my god! Just imagine TSM in the finals against Damwon. Just imagine.
You know what's so
then,
funny though?
No.
I don't want to imagine that. Yeah.
The worlds must have been shit if there's TSM with
Now the
Damwon.
next 2 years of NA getting 3-0'd by LCK instead of LPL 3-0'ing LEC.
Hey, I'll take it because then I don't have to hear LEC greater than NA.
Yeah.
So that's the LEC. G2 beats Fnatic again and again and again and again. Fnatic won, and then again and again, because G2 are now the 8-time LEC champions. They did a Team Liquid back to back in one era of EU, then back to back in another era of EU. That's just crazy to think about. They've won 4 back-to-back titles in 2 different eras of Europe. That's just insane. Fnatic did beat G2 before this, but if you're like me and like you're a fan of the team, we didn't like. Come on, that series was kind of like Nemesis soloing Caps kind of throwing on his LeBlanc pick. This week, I thought they were going to play a lot better against Fnatic if they actually played against Fnatic, but they played really bad against Rogue. G2 played astoundingly pretty bad against Rogue. Rogue played real well in our series, and it just sucks because at the end of the day, I think it's just player difference at that point. It's not that it's just that they have the better players, and that's just sometimes what it comes down to. Then they face Fnatic, and the series was a 3-0, but watching it didn't really feel like a 3-0. I mean, Game 3 did, but, the first 2 games were pretty close, actually. So, you guys watch this?
Never lock in Zilean ever again. You should never lock in Zilean ever again.
Dude, 2 straight finals against Fnatic. This man runs it down. Last split, he was tanky. He was playing, Orin and fucking Zach dying 0-3 in lane. This playing Zilean game 1. What are you doing? Are you actively trying to lose your job? What's going on
the
here?
thing that made it worse was normally you're not using your ult on yourself. You're using it on a more important carry, theoretically speaking. He would just run into the team, have to ult himself, and then I think that game they were running Hecarim. They were Hecarim.
Was it Hecarim? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a game 1. Yeah.
Where they were running
Whippo Zillion.
Yeah, Whippo Zillion. That was absolutely garbage.
Yeah, it was.
That shit was trash.
Actually. Yeah, it was like they fought. Where was it? Like by the drag, like above in the blue side. That's where they were fighting. Where Buevo had to ult himself because
it was drag going into to red side. It was drag going into red side jungle towards the blue buff, and you had because you had Yanko survive with 2 HP. He flashed with the blast cone and fucking escaped somehow. But I don't blame fucking what's his name? Who's the jungler again? Inspired, right?
Selfmade.
Or Selfmade, that's right. I don't blame Selfmade for diving 1v4. I mean, you see how fast he was moving? You got to take the chance for the one shot, right?
Bro, I love fast horses, man. The pony got to move fast, though. Got to go fast on that champion. I love when I play Hecarim. You just got to go fast. Oh, but overall, I don't okay, so the biggest talking points for Fnatic are always not even Reckless and freaking, what's his name? Nemesis right now, or Selfmade. It's how much Bwipo and Hylissang consistently int. But to be fair, on Hylissang's part, he didn't play that. He has not been inting that much as people have been making it out to be. He's been playing okay.
His pipe game was actually pretty good.
I liked it. I liked it overall.
His pipe game was pretty good. They got very unlucky, but his pipe game was pretty solid. I mean, but Hylissang's always been known for, he would die 10 times a game, but he would still make plays.
So how confident are you guys in G2 and doing well at Worlds? I think they could at least get to the knockout stage this time around. I don't know about getting far as they did last time. That's crazy, though. And I'm a fan of theirs. I'm like, Perks and Mickey X are not as strong as they were last year. They're just not,
Zaya's not in the meta right now.
No, Zaya Kaiser right now. Ezreal's dropped off, too.
He was he was arguably the best Zaya at Worlds last year.
Yeah.
He's arguably also a 3-trick, so I think the meta's gonna like define it a lot.
Yeah, I think there was a interview today, but from Hotspawn about Grabs talking about like their chances, and he thinks right now if they were to play Worlds, all LEC teams would just get rolled over.
That's gonna happen no matter what, though. I think.
Well, no, he means like not even like getting out of groups. I think is what he's basically saying. I think the time that they all have will be good. I mean, this is the same exact group. I think it's. I don't think we've ever had an NA or an LEC team for 3 years in a row have the exact same team.
Yeah, it's very rare.
Do this like Fnatic when they got 3-0, they split up, but then G2 for these past 2 years. I have faith in them. If Fnatic can decide whether they want to just go ham with Bwipo and Hilly, or if they want to sit back like Nemesis and Reckless want to do, they just have to decide on one thing, because it's like the old adage, like 5 players doing a boneheaded play is better than like 3 people doing the correct play.
My thing with Fnatic is that they're all, I don't like to use this as a thing against them, but it always feels to me when I watch them, they're all mental based. Like if they feel like they're doing well, they do better. If they are mentally kind of crippled by how much a team is being more proactive, doing better than them are on the map, they start playing worse. And it's always against G2. They consistently play worse. Now, a lot of the Fnatic fans will say, "Well, they're just always choking against G2. You cannot choke against someone this much. You just suck. You are not better than them." Come on, I can't use that excuse anymore for Fnatic. But it always just feels like when they're not able to out muscle somebody with their better players, they just feel like they can't do it. I don't know. I've always felt this way. I don't know about you guys specifically. That's how I've always seen them, though. Cap says, how does this year's G2 and Fnatic match up to last year's? I feel G2 had more hype last year. They did, actually.
Yeah, they just came off of a MSI win.
Yeah, and then go QJ.
All I was gonna say is, they kind of haven't really had that momentum that they had last year. Like, I feel like this year with the whole like perks, like having to take that time off with like the family issues, like kind of like downplayed the amount of time that he put into preparing and making sure that he was where he needed to be. Because remember, they initially made that swap over for the first time the other year, and that was something that they prepared prior to it coming into play. And then now they swap back, and then they had to kind of get ready for that swap to come into effect. And that time they took off, of course, affected the how seamless that change was.
I think for Fnatic, the only thing that they actually have going for them this year that they didn't last year is that last year during playoffs and some of like the end of the season, they were subbing in Dan for Broxa. We saw that, and now Selfmade is like, he is their jungler, probably top 2 jungler in LEC, looking really good. I just think they have a internal communication identity crisis where 2 of the members are wanting to do their own thing and 2 members are wanting to do the opposite thing. It's not even just that it's their own thing. They want to do the exact opposite. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about in NA, where like the NA orgs will like just stick to a play style that fits the player's mold. But for Fnatic, they're having troubles with that communication in game about what they're comfortable doing. Like Reckless still wants to sit back and farm and probably just get to 3 items. There's a reason why he picks random champions when they're not in meta, like Sivir or something, because it's like comfort, and that's what you have to do for that champion to work. I think for Fnatic, not that they would have liked this, but I think it would have been good for them, like TL, to actually go in through the play-in stage, because not only were they are having like newer players come to the stage with like Selfmade. I think that both of these teams have rookie head coaches, with Mithy being the head coach and then Jat for Team Liquid. And that I think them being able to adapt to that stage and the atmosphere and like the pressure at Worlds would be a whole lot better for them. So I'm kind of worried about Fnatic if they don't get their stuff together. I think Rogue trolled in Game 5 by going Draven and just not really like they went all comfort, and the Aatrox pick that was like down 40 CS to a Shen.
Oh my god!
Tragic. Almost got Flame Horizon.
Finn. Oh my god, Finn.
How does that happen in a professional game? Like
Finn's just not that good, dude. I really think Finn's just not that good. I don't know where this hype came from him, but he's just not that good.
Well, if he had that one moment where he's like, "Oh, the 17-year-old Finn from Medic," but like, I think he's a really good. Again, we talked about weak side top laners, and he does play really good Aatrox and really good Aurelia. But I think he played the lane really poorly. It's also a champion that is absolute dog in general, in my opinion. When he's not overtuned, he's just really, really bad and has conditional ways of getting into the fight. And he needs people to run into him and just kind of turbo. And it was a pick out of left field. If you look at Game 5 Rogue comp, it's like picks for all of them that they feel good on, as opposed to
Draven, Thresh, the Azir.
Yeah, and as opposed to what actually works and how you can do this. Because they made like, I think if they don't troll Game 5, it doesn't look like they just got decimated by G2 with the comp. And then Mad, I think, actually has one of the most interesting, because I think seeing Carzzy, Kaiser, and especially Shadow, who I think is like their X factor for not just play-ins, but for whatever group they fall into. If he can get an early lead, they can take some games off of top teams.
So who else is going for EU? G2 Fnatic, Mad Lions, and Rogue. Yeah. How are we feeling about those teams? Good God.
I think G2 has a good chance of making it out. Other than that, I'm not too confident in LEC.
Like Mad Lions have Shadow and who's their support? The Kaiser, right?
Kaiser, yeah.
You have Kaiser and Shadow. Those are solid players overall. But the problem with Mad Lions is the problem with rookies going to Worlds, because people always ask, like, for newer people always watching Worlds, is why do certain like rookie teams falter? Because it's like Worlds is a big competition. It's a lot of pressure. A lot of rookies kind of succumb to the pressure and don't play too well. That's kind of just what it is, essentially. And some players thrive in that. Damn one. Yeah, there you go. Some players thrive in it. Some players don't. That's just kind of boils down to it's all the pressure. Now, a team like Rogue, I don't even know how they would do at Worlds. That's like that's the actual wild card. Some games they look pretty solid. Some games they look like they don't even like what is this? Like Larson and Inspired are great. I think they're pretty good players overall. But Hansama, he's only kind of good at like two champions, like exceptionally good at two champions, like Draven, the Lucian. Vander is a good playmaking support, but when you have a player like Finn losing that hard to people in his own region, what are the LPL top players going to do to this guy? That's crazy to think about,
Well, the first thing is you don't pick Aatrox at all. Like that, it's awful. So, but
also, I mean, it's like it happens. Like I don't think we can just use this like you're a pro, that shouldn't be happening. The Flame Horizon is a thing for a reason.
I mean, that happens, but you're not down 41 CS to 8 or 7 at like 8 minutes in a matchup that the champion smashes. Like Aatrox Shen is like that'd be like Bjergsen and Zillion being up 45 CS on like Oriana or something like that. Some champ that has like easy way to wave clear. Like there should be nothing that is contested. It was insane.
For those of you guys who are watching, we have 11 people watching. Could you please like the video? That way this gets more recommended to people. And all you guys here, if you like the video, thank you very much. I love all of you. And don't worry, I will be on Cloud9 one day as their water carrier. Just kidding. At the LCS as being their water carrier, just their water boy. Here, Licorice, here's some water after that great game you played. Just that's what I'll be. I'll be the water boy. But overall, I think G2 are LEC's best shot at doing anything at World so far. Fnatic tilted so easily. You can tell in their gameplay when they are not winning and they're not in the most favorable position, they do the most stupidest shit in the world. Like, I remember against Team Vitality a couple of weeks ago, they literally 50-50 to Baron. They consistently did this, though, for multiple weeks. Randomly, 50-50 Baron got 20 minutes in. I don't know what that is, but that is going to get just exploited at Worlds. You just can't do these things. And people are like, well, why can't you do these things? Because better teams punish those mistakes harder and differently. to the point where you just lose. That's why you don't do these things. That's why you get all this shit out right now. But we'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. So, did you guys watch the LCK series? Damwon smacking around Dragon X like a... It got smacked around. Oh, Dragon X. God damn.
Showmaker and Nuguri Canyon, that team is just insane. They're almost the equivalent of like what C9 had, where you've got like what I think they had 4 people. Yeah, they had 4 players.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
In the All-Pro team.
Except Ruler. Yeah, Ruler got it for the
Ruler
ADC.
was the only like their ADC position, but
it has
Showmaker.
To be yeah, dude, that has to be fanboyism. Ruler, I like Ruler. I like Genji, but Ruler, this split for
he's definitely been the best.
You don't think Ghost was pretty? You don't think Ghost or Deft? You would have had Deft over him?
No, actually, so Ghost to me is
underrated.
What Triple was talking about earlier. He fits the glue for what Damwon needed. Last year when they had Nuclear, he was so reliant on Syndra because he would actually just get outplayed on actual 80 carries in his own region.
The 5-man dive with Kaisa?
Yeah, like what? But for me, like that series, I like DRX as a team better, but I was rooting for Damwon because if DRX won, that meant Gen G would have got the 2 seed, and I didn't want Gen G to get the 2 seed,
bro.
Because then
T1 could have made it, right?
T1 would have had to play against Damwon in the regional finals.
Oh, okay.
So then they weren't going to make it there, in my opinion, either.
I'm not gonna lie, man. There's a lot of T1 Western fans. T1 have a big fan base. It's massive.
I like T1, but I like Faker. I'm not a T1 fan. I like Faker. However, I do like Damwon. I was rooting for Damwon last year, and they got fucking smacked. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, Damwon was what TSM are friends saying. They were consistently doing something else nobody wanted to do. They were consistently all on the wrong page. But they were all good individually, though, so you knew it was there. You knew it was there, and it finally took them only a year to get a title. I'm proud of them, actually. They're the best team so far in the LCK.
I think, honestly, I'd put them at probably 3rd best in the world, behind, like, Top and, what is it?
That's going to be a good match. Top versus Damwon. Top versus Damwon. I want to see. Oh man, that's to me such a good matchup. Knight versus Canyon. Yeah. It can't get any better than that. Or not Knight versus Showmaker. Showmaker, right?
Yeah, Knight versus Showmaker.
Knight versus Showmaker. Canyon versus Karsa. 3 odds. Oh my god. I want Worlds to happen now, dude. Like all the hype matchups I'm seeing.
Yeah, I won't see that till because I think both of those. That's going to be a semifinal matchup because both of them I think get first in their group regardless of who else is in their group, unless JDG somehow gets into Damwon's group.
JDG's Kenvi, Yagao, Jackie Love, and QQ, right? That team?
No, that's Jackie Love's on top.
JDG has Loken.
Loken, who was the old Loken, Lumao, and Zoom topping.
Do you guys think Yagao is the weakest mid laner for the LPL going over at least Angel? It's Angel, Xie.
Yagao's better than Angel, I believe.
Yeah, Yagao's better
Angel's
than
pretty
Angel.
Solid. Angel's pretty solid. But yeah, Yagao is actually better.
Yagao's better than Angel. I think he's right there with GA, but GA had like some really great performances coming on the back end of their like playoffs. And Knight's obviously the best player in the world, so
I just think it's insane because, so I'm a mid lane player myself. And like the craziest thing about it is like I've followed these mids for years now before they even hit like the professional scene, like just like in like the LCK like solo queue ladder and shit. And I remember like back in season 7, season 8, like when I like first started playing like ranked, there was like so many videos of people being like, oh, there's this player Knight in like LCK, like he's like just crazy prodigy on like the LCK ladder and like just hyping him up and stuff. Same thing with like Cal. What's that?
Yeah, the right hand of God, as they called him in the LCK ladder.
Huan Feng is insane.
Yeah,
because people always kind of meme on the LPL players being mechanically gifted. If you actually watch the region, because most people are gonna, dude, I can guarantee you when people have predictions out there online, they'll say Faker is the best mid. I guarantee you it will happen. They will say Faker is the best mid.
I mean, maybe a couple of years ago, even Chovy, mechanically, Chovy in a 1v1 situation last year, Chovy was a better mechanical mid laner However, if you asked me who I would want on the team, I would have still picked Faker.
Yeah.
But that's just because of a team
point those people
cohesion.
towards me, because if anyone's saying that Faker, the guy who's been benched for over 4.5 weeks for closer, by the way, tonight Faker's starting, but they benched Teddy and they benched.
Wait,
What?
what?
Yeah,
They
Wait,
must want
for
to
who?
lose,
Teddy,
bro.
Yeah,
Teddy
they
is like
changed their
Teddy is
roster.
like Teddy's literally one of the best ADCs in the
and
world.
they also benched Cuz.
Who's the AC playing?
What the fuck?
Teddy was their most consistent player.
Hold
I
on.
mean, besides maybe
This is
Top.
hold on. They announced this.
Hold on,
Teddy
hold
is
on.
benched.
I
So
do need to see this.
last night on LCK broadcast when it was Valdez and Wadid leaked the rumors, and then LS today after his show with Degon and Dom said that T1's going to be running the leaked roster, and this Yuma Gausi, I think his name is, or Yuma Gausi, something like that.
Gumeyusi, right? That guy.
The golden
Yeah.
rookie.
Yeah,
That guy's actually insane, though.
Yeah. So he is touted within the T1 organization as being the most mechanically gifted player in the entire org.
Dude, that's a lot of pressure on these guys.
I played with this guy before.
He's an AD player?
He's
what was that?
ADC.
What was that? Triple?
Okay. Was that Triple?
I played with these Vayne and Sulky before. This guy's insane.
Really?
Yeah, don't
Triple
worry
is giving
about
us the inside scoop right now. He's like, he's going to Worlds, guys. You just don't know it.
Well, I mean, they obviously.
What's he gonna pick game one? He picks Vayne game one.
No.
No way, man. No way.
Unless
Honestly,
he's playing
I
it
have them
top.
winning. I have them winning the series, but
Oh yeah, I have them winning against Afrika. It'll be interesting to see how good they all look.
Dude, it's bad for Gen G. Like, I love Gen G, man, but their kryptonite, they're literally what Fnatic actually is to G2. They only, because even Faker said it. He said Gen G are good, but they generally just choke against us. We don't even know what they like. I remember it was a couple games ago. It was like last split. Why is Clid going for a river invade when you literally see BDD recalling? What is that? Like, it's just clearly stuff they would never do against other teams, but they only do it against T1.
Yeah.
So if T1 get to the finals against Gen G, I got T1 going to Worlds again. Because T1 have consistently beaten Gen G, and Gen G have consistently choked against T1.
I'm kind of worried, though, because they just got fucking clapped by Afrika a couple. But then again, it could be just like what happened with Fnatic and G2, where Fnatic absolutely fucking smashed G2 and then come back. And then
I mean, I actually think that SKT or T1, excuse me, they've actually never made it through the gauntlet when they've had the chance, though, through the gauntlet runs. Every time that they've gone to Worlds, it's been like 1 or 2 seed.
Yeah.
When they did the gauntlet run the one time, that was, I think, Samsung going in place of them, one of the Samsungs. Or
it was Najin, right?
Yeah,
Najin. Najin White Shield. Oh, what a blast from the past with Gorilla.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I kind of want to see Gen G go only for the sake of it would be cool to see Gen G and TL in the same group, so Core could go up against Ruler and Lane. But that's the only thing I want to see T1. I think having Faker there solidifies the mid pool as the must-watch role.
But the issue here is I don't really mind the changes. The issue here is you're throwing these players into the deep end. Like, if these guys fail at the moment, it's a lot of pressure on the new guys, though, to play really well.
But I think this is when you should do it. You're against Afrika and not Gen G.
Yeah.
So if there was a team that I would be like, well, fuck it, let's sub in some people, it would be against Afrika and not Gen G.
Or like KT or any of the other ones for sure.
KT, why were they even qualifying for the gauntlet? Oh my god.
They lost to Afrika last night.
God, they're such a joke.
3-0, they got clapped. I mean, it's the same as freaking why NA had 8 teams in playoffs. Why? Like, why the fuck are there 8?
But it's like they got the right idea in spring, 6. Then why is it more suddenly for summer? Wouldn't it be more for spring if it doesn't matter? And that's 6 for summer?
No, because the idea is that, one, without 8 teams, you wouldn't have had the eliminations the way that we had it. You would have actually had, Team TSM or like it actually would have been whatever the 5th and 6th seeds would have been in the bottom part of the bracket, and Liquid and Cloud9 would have played first round. So,
Dude, in the old system, Cloud9 would have gotten to Worlds. Well, wouldn't they have? They would have
They would have
gone on.
auto.
No,
They would have
auto-
qualified.
No,
Yeah,
Fly
they
would
would've-
have auto qualified actually.
yeah, Fly would have all qualified because they were second and second. TSM would have been that, and then Cloud9 and TL would fight for third in the gauntlet.
So the last thing I want to touch on before we close out this episode, what was great, I do want to say thank you all to everyone who's been on here. This was TSM fans' first time. Obviously, he's an OP TSM fan, so if you ever see him, he will literally destroy you if you say Bjergsen's the worst mid laner. Just kidding, I'm just kidding. One of these weeks, we got to do Bjergsen versus Jensen. That has gotten even more better with Bjergsen beating Jensen. But to be fair, Jensen played well in that series, though. Jensen played great. It's just that, sometimes Bjergsen gets Bjergsen's All Might, Jensen's Endeavor. It's how it's going to be for right now, One day, Jensen might be the number one hero when Bjergsen retires from the LCS.
And out TF.
I will say that I hate this narrative because I feel like it's been unfair for Jensen since he's come here to be constantly compared to just another Danish mid laner who,
I agree.
was supposed to be mechanically gifted and everything. Jensen has 4 titles of his own, and he is good in his own right. His Zillion game, obviously, if you just compare them side to side, game 4 to game 5, the better Zillion is obviously Bjergsen, but it's not like he doesn't know how to play the champion. He played the Zillion Kindred with Cloud9 all those years. But, I'm really tired of it. I just wish, we should be able to appreciate both of them in their own
For
right.
how good they are, yeah.
Because they're both going to Worlds for us now. And if you're hung up on Bjergsen being better than Jensen, and then Team Liquid somehow get out of groups and TSM does it really fucking matter at the end of the day which individual player is better? No, it doesn't. They both have to fill the role that their team asked them to do, and they both can do it really well.
But, dude, I think I was arguing with someone through Reddit. They were like, Bjergsen's better. I was like, here, I raised you MSI 2019 finals. Give me something Bjergsen's done the last 2 years internationally. You're just silent. There's been a week since I got a reply from this guy. it's just
It's also Reddit, so it's not necessarily the hive mind of intelligence.
Yeah, I was like, dude, come on. I love Bjergsen, but you got to show me something internationally, man. You got to. You're so good, you got to do that. Because not to rag on Bjergsen, but Jensen's feats will be remembered more internationally. It's just how it's going to work, though. But if Bjergsen does something internationally in this year or next year, then it can be on the level of that. But international performances throughout how the game will structure will matter more in the context of how history of the game has gone. People don't care for North American titles. They just don't. Unless actual teams here do that,
But it's that those comparisons will never go away.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Jordan LeBron comparisons get brought up every damn day.
Well, that's the only problem.
Yeah.
Jordan and
Kobe,
Jordan and LeBron never played against each other, though. So that's generational differences in metas. That's like comparing Expeke to Knight. That would be like a weird thing. Like no one would ever do that. Faker's the only one that's transcended that. He's like the Kobe, because he's been there for all of the time. But he's also.
I remember the hype matchups when I was a kid. Kobe versus LeBron. That was some epic shit to watch.
That was pretty good, yeah.
Obviously, rest in peace Kobe Bryant and rest in peace Chadwick Boseman. Great people that have left us this year. And the last thing I want to touch on is nothing because this episode was great. Anything you guys want to add? You guys want to add anything? Because eventually, before World starts, or maybe a couple weeks, we'll do our, if you guys want to, our top 20 players for Worlds, top 10 teams for the World Championship, things like that. If you guys want to take a few weeks, prepare the list, watch some VODs of the LPL, LCK, LCS, Bjergsen number 1, Spica number 2, obviously Broken Blade number 3, all TSM players top 5 in the world. Come on,
If there is an NA player on the top 20 list, and it's not core, maybe, I'll be really surprised.
I forgot. You guys can't have your honorable mentions. Oh, but last thing. Don't forget, Corey JJ got MVP. So congrats to Corey JJ winning 2 MVPs. People just said, well, why did Corey JJ got MVP, but Bjergsen just beat this guy? It's that's just how these things go. Someday
robbed.
It was
robbed.
Yeah, robbed. Someday lost to Licorice when people said he should have been all pro and they got beaten by Licorice. It's guys, these things happen. Randomly, the player will get the award and then he loses. It's
it's also a regular season. It's a regular season
Yeah.
award. Just like people have complaints about NBA MVP all the time. It's a regular season award. And that is what it is.
I will say though, this format change made it to where I believe this is the first time that the first place team had, like, first place team in regular season had rookie of the split, coaching staff of the split, MVP, and they didn't make finals.
Ryan, you're a jerk. Hopefully Jeffrey could beat T1 again. That'd be hilarious. Imagine beating them.
I would be sad. That'll be sad.
I watch Worlds.
I'll watch Worlds, but if a Freaka make it to Worlds
again,
put them in the group with T1, please, with TSM, please. Oh my God.
Okay, so this is a wild prediction that we're gonna end it off. How many games do you guys actually think NA will win at Worlds? I'm gonna say the max is 3.
You mean like in total?
All
3
total,
teams?
I'm saying 3.
Yeah, it's gotta be more than that.
Like I said, I actually have a team making it out. I think one team will make it out for sure.
If I'm being a wild card guy to pick a team to make it out, FlyQuest might have a good shot. FlyQuest might have a shot.
I think FlyQuest get ruled. No offense, and it's because of Solo and Ignore.
It's only because Triple's here.
No. Triple's not
See you in solo queue, bro.
Dude, they're gonna sub in Triple over Power People. Imagine if FlyQuest make the best of 5s and they sub in Triple
I'm not even playing,
over.
man. I'm not even going as a sub.
I'm going, bro. I'm going to that shit.
No, I think
man gotta put in Triple.
Dude, Power People sucking against like Suning in the best of 5 Triple. You're up against Angel, man. Hey,
dude,
go for it.
Can you imagine SOFM and Longjing just like, destroying Solo on the top side? Like, he has to be at his tier 2 at any given moment.
Dude, SOFM is actually insane. I mean, SOFM is actually insane.
Bro,
if you guys have not watched SOFM, watch this guy. This guy's actually insane. Like, Kenvy's insane. Oh my God. Think about it now. Why isn't it going to Worlds? But who knows?
Because Riot made the game in
their major region, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
But I'll see you guys later. If we don't come back next week, because this is every single Monday, we'll come back the following Monday with our top 20 players to go to Worlds, and the following week the top 10 teams for the World Championship. Obviously, I'm gonna predict TSM to win Worlds. Hey, you heard it here first. Red Zone will go in against Damwon, against taking Robertson's spot. TSF's like, no, please, no.
I don't know what planet this guy's living on.
Watch Lena play ADC with Biofrost. And just
support double lift.
They're only allowed 2 subs, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Lena and Reggie. So,
hey, Triple, are you still in Diamond?
What's up? Yeah. I'm in D1 promos now, so I'll see you soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. There you go.
No, I haven't played in about like a week.
Dude, same here. Dude, not playing League like a week makes you so rusty.
Yeah.
Have you not played in like a couple weeks? You're just bro. I was literally running it down in some games. I was like, forgive me, I'm just not good. And then a couple of games I got warmed up. Once you get warmed up, you're back into it. But it's like after not playing League for like a few weeks, it's like, God damn, I suck. I better not be on IL.
Gold 1 playing with the D4 and Plat 1s. It's a fun life.
All right, guys. See you guys later. Thank you to Shinryu for coming on. You're in the Navy, aren't you? You actually told me that. Thank you for serving the country, man. It means a lot, obviously. Can I get some of your military benefits? Some free college,
Man, I'm not even using mine. What? Not yet, at least. Yeah, don't be like me.
Thank you to OPTSM fan. He's always repping TSM no matter what. Thank you, man, for showing up. Thank you, Triple, for always being here, man. FlyQuest are going to go to Worlds, so at least you can get your consolation prize. They don't win a trophy, but hey, we'll see you at Worlds. QJ, thank you guys for being here, man. They always repping TSM. I told you, man, Cloud9, we're going to destroy TSM this year in the spring. There's the asterisk there. See you guys later. Goodbye.
Yeah,
see you not next week. See you not next week, the week after, for our top 20 players heading into Worlds. Peace out, guys.
Roger.
See you later. Goodbye.